Welcome to WP Coffee Talk. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and especially to our espresso level sponsors, Helix Managed WordPress Hosting, for both their sponsorship and for hosting our site, and to Expander Digital for both their sponsorship and providing SEO services to us. Now enjoy the episode. Welcome to WP Coffee Talk, and I'm here once again with wonderful people that I meet all over the world with WordPress. And so David Martin is here with me today, and David and I were, I think our first actually meeting was probably standing in line to say hello to Matt Mullenweg at the end of WordCamp US.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
great. It's my first WordCamp, and just had to, after the talk, just have to stay there and just go up, and the chance to meet Matt was great, and he was the last person in the room. That was awesome.
Did you
So,
get your selfie for the Bluehost, what do you call it, scavenger hunt?
there was a guy right in front of me. My phone had died because I'd taken so
Oh,
many
no.
pictures and done so many things. So I was totally bummed about that. But the guy in front of me took a picture, and he used his camera to take a picture of us together. I asked him if he would do that. So
Oh, very nice.
it was really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
My first time I met Matt Mullenweg was at WordCamp US 2016, where he just happened to sit at the one empty seat at our table. And so I got
Oh,
an
great.
opportunity to have lunch with him and to kind of talk to him. And super nice guy, super, just really salt of the earth, down to earth kind of person. So, and you were there when I asked him if he would be on the WP Coffee Talk. So you're my witness that he said yes to that.
Totally.
So,
Totally. Yeah. That
so we
was
look forward.
awesome. Yeah. I was like, wow, he just totally agreed to that. And he was like, yeah, let's schedule it. Let's make it happen. I'm really busy right now. It's going to be a little bit, but I will
Yeah,
definitely do that. That was so
yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited. So you and he will have been on the same podcast, so that's kind of cool too.
That's humbling. Yeah, thank you.
So David, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do with WordPress.
Well, I looked back in my email to find out when I first started using WordPress. I've been building websites for 21 years. I built my first website as a class project in high school in 1998, and just I remember uploading the code to my server, my school server, and refreshing my browser, and I was like, wow, this is magic. It was so cool. So I just kept publishing just creatively things for myself, and that kind of led to some freelance business and got me started. I knew that was something that I always wanted to do. But looking back in my email, the first time I used WordPress was November 16th was the email that I found, which was today. And 8 years ago, I helped my friend with his arts business build a website. So that's when I started. And I actually last Friday converted my website to WordPress completely.
Ah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were you inspired by anything from WordCamp US to kind of push that forward a little bit, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard not to be. Definitely, like, the value of the weekend was incredible. Like, $50 for a ticket for something like that was just amazing. And St. Louis was so nice to us, and the food was great. And like, I learned a lot, and I got to meet some really cool people, Kathy Zant and Jennifer Bourne, and
Mhm.
people at Wordfence, and um,
Yeah.
I got to meet you, and I got to
Ah,
meet Matt, and like, seriously, it's such a great community. And
it is.
watching that open film was so cool.
I was moved to tears. That was just brilliant. That film was amazing. I'm gonna get Kathy on the show here before too long too and talk about open. So I
Oh,
think Mikey Veenstra from Wordfence as well. So I think the two of them are going to be on together, which will be the first time I've ever had more than one guest at a time. So that'll be fun.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been following them on Twitter now and just like seeing all their tweets, and yeah, I'm definitely inspired, and I feel like, hearing that state of the word and listening to it and how it was comparing WordPress to other operating systems was super interesting to me.
Hmm.
And to think about where it's been, where it is now, and where it's going to be
Hmm.
is yeah, I feel really inspired, and I
Yeah.
feel like I want to learn a lot more.
Yeah, I think that that's not uncommon after a word camp, because certainly there's a lot to learn, and you come back all kind of jazzed up and excited to put some of that learning to work for sure.
Yeah.
So I just saw you take a sip. Tell us about your mug. I got a preview of it on Twitter yesterday. I love it.
Yeah, this is my Wonder Woman mug.
I
And
love it.
it matches yours.
Yep. So I've got mine today.
Yours. And my sister gave it to me. My sister, Angela, I I'm not sure why she sent me this. It must have been a good deal on Amazon or something. But yeah, Wonder Woman. She also just recommended a movie to me, so I started watching it. It was about the um, the guy that created the Wonder Woman comic series, and it was a
Yeah.
really so
Is
far.
it?
I had to pause it actually. Like I can't wait to watch the rest of it. It's super cool. But and my sister gave me this mug, and she's been a really important part of shaping kind of my musical interests,
Uh-huh.
and she's a really creative, really cool person.
That's awesome. Is the movie Dr. Marston and the Wonder Women?
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Love that film. If you are somebody listening to the show or watching the show right now, it is not safe for children. That movie is for adults only.
yes.
And I
We've
won't say
got
why, but just
a
take my
little
word
bit.
for it.
It's very well done though. Like
It
it's
is.
very cinematically beautiful, and like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
music's been great, and yeah, the subject matter is really cool.
I should start another podcast just on Wonder Woman. If people don't know, I actually have a whole wall over to the right here that is all Wonder Woman. I've got a cape. I've got the lasso of
That's
truth.
funny.
I mean, I have all the Funko Pops. I've got so many fun things for
Well,
Wonder
and
Woman over there.
Kathy at the open film after party mentioned behind every great man is a woman,
Hmm.
and I agree with that. My wife has been here to help me and kind of keep me balanced, and she's great. So
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
appreciate that. I appreciate the wonderful women in my life.
That's great. What's in your mug? I forgot to ask you that.
Well, right now it's water because I've already had 2 French presses today.
There you go. Well, I'm drinking pumpkin spice latte. I was gifted a box of the Dunkin' Donuts for my birthday last month, and I think I have maybe 3 left. So I've been kind of slowly drinking them because they are absolutely delicious.
I've got the Lavazza espresso. I'm very frugal, so I only buy what's on sale. And Lavazza, like ground espresso in my French press is perfect.
I haven't had French press yet. I might have to try that sometime. I've heard it's wonderful.
There was a great online coffee subscription service called Tonks.
Hmm.
They sent me a pour over coffee set as a gift when I joined in.
Hmm.
I did a free trial. And so I experimented with the pour over coffee. I've done the French press. I typically get a triple espresso when I go to Starbucks.
Yeah.
I get the single origin coffees when I go to my local coffee shops here, Hopscotch Coffee and Soma Coffee. And there's some great coffee in Bloomington.
I've been doing the podcast since the end of May, beginning of June. I'm surprised that my mailbox doesn't fill up with people's coffee recommendations, but maybe someday, maybe someday. Tell us how you got started with WordPress.
Well, looking at my email 8 years ago, I'll tell you the story about my friend's arts cooperative that he started here in Bloomington. He went to school for the arts, and he was a great person. I really respect his ability to mold the physical world. I can shape the digital world a little bit, but he can actually do bronze work and metal work and sculpting and like work physically with his hands. So he had all this arts experience, but he needed help with the web side of things. And one of my really good friends, Lan, introduced me to Adam, and I just volunteered to help him with his arts cooperative that he was starting. It was called the Trained Eye Arts Center here in Bloomington, and it was a really cool creative space for people to come in and do their art. And he fostered that and rented out some studio spaces, and people did their creative stuff, and I tried to promote that, and I helped him build his site using WordPress and start his social media, and that ended up being a great startup for him. He ended up leaving. It kind of died out a little bit, and then he restarted that concept as Artisan Alley.
Oh,
And
cool.
Artisan Alley now is a 501c3 nonprofit here in Bloomington. And that groundwork that we did 8 years ago made it possible for the arts to really kind of blossom here in Bloomington.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was your first WordPress website, and I like to say you got bit by the WordPress bug and never looked back.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to not put all your eggs in one basket.
Mm-hmm.
So I've played around with Joomla and Drupal, and people come to me and they're on different platforms. So I try to learn as much as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I installed WordPress on my blog 7 years ago. I actually looked and found my WordPress.org username and password got sent to me. So that's when I put it on my own site, and I installed it in my /blog folder. But I had recently I had 24 static HTML pages as my front end, and then had WordPress running. Wow. And I don't know, I've just messed around with lots of different things, but now after going to the WordCamp and just kind of thinking about it, I feel like this is a great solution. And seeing one of my people that I really respect, Jeffrey Zeldman, join the automatic team, that kind of really sealed the deal for me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's funny you say, that you don't always want to stick with one solution for every problem. I'm constantly reminded of that phrase that says, if your only tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
Yeah.
And I think that in some cases, everybody says that they can build any site, they can solve any problem with a WordPress site, but that's just not the truth. Sometimes other processes, other builds are not necessarily, are better than WordPress, and that WordPress isn't necessarily the right answer. I taught a beginning 101 class once. Had somebody come in, they literally never built a website before, they had never logged into WordPress before, and they wanted to build the next Airbnb. I said, well, we're not going to do that in a WordPress 101 class, and honestly, WordPress might not be the best solution for this at that time. It was about 4 years ago, so who knows, but.
Well, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, it's so nice to have a stable platform that when I want to change something, if I had to go back and change those 24 pages, the static, I crafted each one of those. I looked at all the meta tags, all the metadata, and looking at Neil Patel's stuff and just picking out the best from everywhere that I could find. It was great, and it ranked 100 out of 100 on Google Page Speed Insights. So I was really happy with my work, but just thinking about WordPress as a platform and what's possible with it now with the Gutenberg blocks and the plugins and the themes, the ecosystem is there. It's I'm wasting my time by editing my static HTML stuff.
Yeah, it does go much faster, editing-wise, time-wise, if you are using a CMS that works for you, like WordPress does. When you look at,
like you said, it's not going to solve all your problems. Definitely, right. I was really interested. I met the Gatsby folks and talked a little bit about headless WordPress, and I still have so much to learn. There's so many things that you just don't know, and people are doing some really cool things.
Right. Yeah.
And I've been kind of following the Twitterverse, and Matt's been talking about the headless and headless stuff, and whether or not that's the future, and I don't know. I think what's important is do what works for you and your business processes, and you shouldn't ever force anything on somebody. You got to really listen to people and understand what their goals are.
Yeah, I agree. When you look at other sites or even sites you've created in the past, what do you think is something that we as as a community building websites don't focus enough attention on that would make sites better and stronger for end users?
Yeah. Well, I talked about Jeffrey Zeldman a little bit, and the kind of story that I like to tell is like when I first started building sites in 1998, it was really fun. I actually linked on my site to the first site I ever built. It's still available using the Wayback Machine and archive.org,
Hmm.
which is a great service if you don't know about the Wayback Machine. It's super cool.
Yeah.
But I linked to the first website as a site on the 1960s, and some of the images aren't there anymore because I didn't save my images locally. I linked out to them. I would
Hmm.
do things a lot differently now. But yeah, sorry, I forgot where I was going with that.
That's okay. We were talking about what you would do differently to make a website better and stronger for the end
Oh,
user.
okay. Yeah. So I was really focused on like the creative aspect of building the site, the graphic design, the backgrounds, and like the images that I was using. Uh, in my first project, I really like had so much fun at just kind of creating something. And it was like,
Hmm.
I felt artistic in what I was doing. But then after I read Jeffrey's book, Designing with Web Standards. It was the third edition, and I just it just changed my process completely over to building a website outline and separating like my information from the actual design and not mixing in my CSS with my code anymore and keeping everything separate so that I could focus on the information architecture and the things that people were really coming to the site for. They weren't coming to the site to see my beautiful design. They were coming to the site to serve the purpose, and a lot of times it was to seek the information that they needed to fulfill whatever they were trying to do. And so
Yeah.
when I read that, I think that completely changed my process over to listening to the business owner, listening to the people that I'm building a site for, trying to understand their goals, and then creating the information architecture first before I focused on the design. And I
Hmm.
think that that's what we should all focus more on is not just, yeah, let's build this, let's get it started, let's pick a theme, let's pick all these plugins. Let's think about the information, business name, address, phone number,
Hmm.
and then why are people coming here? What do they need to see? What do they need to find? And think about the information first.
Hmm. I've referred to Amazon.com very frequently when people talk about purpose of their site because the Amazon website isn't pretty. It isn't like, it's well done. I'm not saying it isn't well done, but it isn't graphically ethereal and, beautiful. And it doesn't just like draw you in an artistic way because that's not the purpose of the Amazon website. The Amazon website, its purpose is to sell you and make you buy things.
Yeah,
And they do a beautiful job of the way that they organize data, the way that they organize their store. And it's amazing how smart they've built it so that even if I misspell something, even if I use one word, it can still find and suggest to me things that I'm actually looking for. It's like, it's almost scary. But yeah, you're right. It's all about the purpose of the site, and good design should follow that. So I agree with that. What's something that you wish you had known earlier in your WordPress journey that you've learned since that might have made things easier earlier on?
that's a really tough question. I had one client just tell me one time, "You don't know what you don't know."
Mm-hmm.
I like that quote. I say that
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit. Um,
For me, it was the value of my work. Like when I first started because I was freelance before I started working with Give, I was charging $300 to $500 for a huge website because I thought, oh, I could crank these things out. It's like I was not valuing my time, I wasn't valuing my work. Once I learned that, I stopped working as much because I could make money doing good design and not have to do a bunch of, crappy websites.
Yeah, gosh, I mean, I wish that I had information about what was going to happen and unfold in front of me,
Hmm.
like Back to the Future, you go back.
Sure.
But, we talked earlier, like, what would happen if you had all this money? What would happen if, like, you were suddenly thrust into the spotlight and you were famous? Like, how would you handle that? I don't really know the answer to that question, honestly. Like, I think it is a long journey to get to this point, and I'm heading in a good direction. And I took a lot of lessons and learning that if I would have known something immediately, yeah, I don't have a really good answer for that.
Would you have started attending WordCamps sooner?
Yeah, I think being part of the community earlier would have helped me get here quicker.
Hmm.
I would have more experience and be more valuable today. Um, yeah, yeah, that would be a good lesson.
Yeah. When you think back over the meetups that I know you said you actually used to coordinate some meetups and the WordCamp that you were just at, what would you say is one or two maybe pivotal moments um, where something that just really made a difference and impacted you in a way? And what was it?
Um, well, it's been really helpful to be an organizer of a meetup, and I had a web design meetup group, 172 members, um, and I ran 6 meetups, and it was really. I also ran my son's 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old Little League baseball team, and it's a similar type of thing, having to organize and plan. And I realize I'm not real good at that. Like, I'm not a real good manager. I'm not a real good. Uh, I I don't know. I just need help with certain things. I think that was one of the lessons that I've learned is, like, to be more effective, I need to work with other people. I need to work on a team, and I need to rely on other people more, that I can't do everything myself.
When you look at WordCamp US, other than meeting Matt Mullenweg, what was one of the talks that you really took something away from, or somebody that you met that you were just like, wow, I can't believe I just shook so and so's hand?
Well, definitely meeting Matt at my first WordCamp this year, November 1st through the 3rd. Like, that was so cool. And just really being in the 3rd row for the State of the Word, just sitting behind the first 3 rows. The people that were in front of me were actually core contributors to WordPress. They were the team. They knew Matt on a personal basis. And the guy in front of me was just like taking pictures. And I'm sure he knows him on a personal basis, but it's like the fact that the guy in front of me that knows him probably is just like inspired by all of this. So like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And, um, that was probably a very pivotal moment. And when I look back at Google, I love Google. I'm a huge Google fan.
Hmm.
Google sent me a Chrome CR48 laptop in the mail. I was a
Wow.
beta tester for that program, and I got to talk to Sundar Pichai on Quora. He sent me a message back and forth, and like, uh, so those are little pivotal moments when people actually, like, acknowledge you and, like, uh, respond to you and talk to
Hmm.
you, and
Yeah.
I've had that happen a couple times, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Those are, I call them almost like mountaintop moments. Like you feel like you just got recharged in a huge way. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. Yeah, for sure. Um, Talk a little bit about, like what you do and how you acquire your customers. And are you designing more locally? Do you have a global? Um, client base? Talk a little bit about what you do there.
I am not global, no. But I do work with a great Indian programmer, Akshay. I've been working with him since March. And yeah, I've lived in Bloomington since I was in 4th grade. So I moved here from Dodge City, Kansas. I got out of Dodge. And
Literally.
yeah, literally. Bloomington is this great little bubble and this great little universe, and I haven't escaped it yet. And it's got so many cool little things going on that there's so many people around here that need help. And so I've focused all my work locally. And so I went to Ivy Tech and Indiana University, and just great local schools, and I got to meet a lot of really cool people. And that just my first project was for a local clothing shop. The store owner went to the same high school that I went to, Bloomington North, and I set up an OS Commerce open source e-commerce installation for them. And I had no idea what I was doing, but they trusted me, and it was great. It led to me being referred to other projects, and it just kept going and just kept snowballing. And yeah, so most of my business has been very local. And I continue to work with some really, really cool clients. I've got to work with a world champion bull rider, a lady that sells Olympic quality Belgian warm blood horses, and a bassoon teacher at Indiana University, and just like everybody needs help. And that's some of the most awesome that's one of the most awesome parts about doing this, is like you get to meet so many people and see so many different businesses and different business models and how things work.
When I was freelancing, I always liked working with local people too, because you could actually sit down for a cup of coffee in the same room and discuss things. You're not doing things via email. You're not doing things over, Google Hangouts or Zoom or any of those kinds of things, which all are great too. I mean, I had a client that was in the Philippines that I never met face to face, but the local customers were the ones that I could really, they're the ones that were really doing a lot of the word of mouth and referral marketing for me as well. So yeah, there's definitely a benefit to building your local business like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I had one of my clients invite me to a networking event for the Chamber of Commerce. And one thing that Jennifer Bourne said in her talk is every business owner wants to be remembered, respected, and referred. And I've mentioned that a couple times since the WordCamp, and just it's so true. And just helping local people, they'll refer you, and they want to bring you in. I've been to BNI meetings. I've been to young professionals meetings, Young Professional Bloomington. I think it's really key to network in your local community and try and help your local community with the things that you have the skills to bring.
I think that's great. If you were talking to somebody who's building their first website, what are 2 or 3 must-have plugins that you would recommend?
Well, one of the first things that I install is Wordfence right away, because I want to make sure I don't get hacked into, I don't expose my domain to spammers, because Wordfence definitely. And that's not just because I met Kathy and all the people there. That helps a lot too. But seriously, it is something I used before I even met them, and it's a great tool. And it works really well. So Wordfence definitely, and I'm really interested in search engine optimization and making sure that the information that people are really trying to find shows up in the best place possible, which is Google. That's where almost all the searches start. So search engine optimization wise, Yoast SEO is really key, really important.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely those two plugins. Let me look at my other plugins that I have. Akismet, I paid for that license. It's definitely worth that. Jetpack, I have. Um, yeah, and those are definitely some really good plugins.
Yeah, for sure. What do you use for forms? I'm always curious what people are using for forms.
I actually talked to a client yesterday. He told me since I built his site, he's had over 115 responses on his contact forms. And I said, how many of those are spam? Like, he said none of them. And I was
Nice.
like, oh, thank you. That's so awesome. And
Yeah.
every single contact form was a relevant lead.
That's
Um,
wonderful.
but if you look on mine, it's just a simple Google form.
Mm-hmm.
And then I use Google Forms, and then I use a add-on plugin called Email Notifications for Forms that was built by Amit Agarwal. And it's a freemium model, but the free product allows you to not only store your responses in a Google spreadsheet, but also attach it as a PDF, and you
Mm.
can customize the email that it sends and the PDF and everything. It's great.
Wow, that's great. Fantastic. We have a battle of the forms here at the Rochester meetup every once in a while because everybody's so tied to their forms. You know, it's like saying, "Who's your host? Who do you recommend for hosting?" And everybody has a different
Yeah.
idea of who the best host is. You know, same is
Well,
true for forms around here.
I really like Google Forms. It's a really simple solution, and
Mhm.
Google's really good at spam filtering and all that stuff. And
Yeah, true.
but it's not. It's honestly, it's not the best integration right now. If you look at my site, I see like a really ugly iframe around my
Mm.
embed, and
Hmm.
so I hope people forgive me for that until I fix that. Um, but yeah, like I said, I just redid my entire site 3 days ago, and launched it on WordPress last Friday, and then scrambled to fix everything. But and kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy with it now. I used the Chaplin theme too, which
Hmm.
the guy that built that theme, the new WordPress 2020 theme, he was the main designer behind that. So I wanted to check out Chaplin
Hmm.
and use that, and that was it's great.
Oh, that's
It's such
awesome.
a great theme.
I love when you find a theme that you really like.
Yeah,
That's
and
definitely a good thing.
the whole jazz thing too, like that got me too. So one of your questions is like a hidden talent. So
Oh,
I've
oh, I'm looking forward to that one. That's coming up in a little bit. Um, at any point in your WordPress journey or your web design journey, even, have you had a mentor, whether it was officially a mentor or somebody who kind of you looked up to or took you under their wing? And who was it?
Yeah, I've had a lot of mentors. I've had a lot of people, and I didn't realize they were mentors until like I was older and understood what a mentor really was.
Hmm.
I've had a lot of great coaches and mentors.
Hmm.
I went to Gregory Allen Isaacoff the other day and at the Buskirk Chumley Theater, and one of my mentors was my 7th grade band teacher, Mr. Austin, and he was the usher there, and I was just like, thank you for like helping me learn saxophone and just being a great guy, like a great band teacher. So my
Yeah.
band teacher, Miss Stockhouse at Bloomington North, she was the coolest lady. We went all over the country, and Rose Bowl Parade and the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival, and we went to
Wow.
Toronto, and just like um, Dr. Grossman was my baseball coach. His son Rex played for the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
He was on my baseball team, and it's just like the tenacity and the fire in the belly, and like my baseball coach in Bloomington North, like he was a great coach, and like the teachers, like the teachers at my junior year in high school, that allowed me the freedom to teach myself web design.
Hmm.
Um, that was awesome. Like that was pivotal.
That's awesome. Who's somebody that you look up to or that you admire in the WordPress community, and why?
Definitely like the plugin developers, the theme developers, all the people in the ecosystem. Um, just that was great meeting some of these people. Yeah, Jeffrey Zeldman, like, uh, and uh, like I got to meet the Green Geek CEO. Like I had a client that was on there. He was super great. He's super personable and told me about like how all the hosting people are all like part of this great community and like they all get along, and it's not like that's another thing about like the technology universe. It's like we're all so helpful and like rely on each other's code in this open source world that we live in. And of course there are some bad players out there that are, you know, but I don't know. I think there's so many people out there.
Definitely. What's something that you'd want to learn in WordPress that you haven't tackled yet?
Hmm. Yeah.
Maybe you're happy with what you know.
No, I definitely want to know more. Yeah, I'd like to kind of understand PHP better.
Hmm.
I don't know that very well. I've looked at it for a long time and I've copied and pasted so many times things
Yeah.
that I can read through, but if I knew that better, I definitely enjoy both the front end and the back end stuff. I run my own server and I've got like 80 some clients on my server, and
Hmm.
so I really enjoy kind of the whole thing. I just really like looking at the database of WordPress and seeing
Hmm.
how clean it is, how the files are so clean, how modular the content folder is with the plugins and the themes and stuff. But the actual code, and learning more about the ecosystem, what people are doing, like the Gatsby stuff,
Hmm.
the headless stuff. I talked to Tim from Stray Cat Digital about learning management systems. I don't know a lot about um, course development and selling courses, and
Hmm.
I'd like to take a lot of the knowledge that I have from the experience that I've built up and be able to share that easily
Hmm.
uh, in the right way. So I have some learning to do in terms of uh, what's out there, what's available to set up a somewhat of a learning environment for people
Hmm.
to, because I want to give back. I want to teach other people how to do these things too.
Sure. That's great. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made in WordPress, and what did you learn from it?
Do I have to do this on live? Okay. What's the biggest Oh, okay. Well, that's probably has to do with just the backup situation and just
Hmm.
kind of, winging it. A lot of like what I've done is just been like, let's do it and just build it and go. And like, not, I built, I spent 40 hours, 50 hours building a site, and then relied on somebody local. Like I definitely want to go local first, right? But when I chose somebody local first for my hosting, I realized that that was a bad idea. Um, and I trusted that he was doing the right thing, and it just didn't work out. So having a really good hosting provider was really important. So I ended up losing a client's site completely, and
Mm.
didn't have a backup, and he didn't have a backup. And I just had to write a really difficult apology letter, and just like, I just felt really bad about the whole thing. So
Yeah.
from that point on, I was much more cognizant of that.
I had a customer once who I was building lots of websites for. She had all these different projects, but her main business, she had not asked me to rebuild that site yet. Somebody else had built it, somebody else was hosting it, and something happened. I don't know whether it was a credit card issue or whatever, and she neglected to pay her hosting bill. So they deleted her website. And so she says to me, "Can you get it back?" I'm like, "No, I can't just get it back." I said, "But I can rebuild it." And before I even said I could rebuild it, I went on the Wayback Machine, archive.org, and found all of her content was still there.
Yep.
So the content is what she owns. That's how was all her information. She wrote it. So I was able to rebuild the website in about 4 hours because I
Yep.
used a page builder where I could just replicate the pages quickly, copy and paste the content. She was lucky. but that was her mistake, was always pay your hosting bill too. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had a client let a domain go into domain redemption the other day, and
Mm,
they got it back. That stuff happens, and people ignore those emails, and they get flooded with phone calls that people think are Google. And Google never calls you, by the way, unless you
right.
want them to. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, people, that stuff happens all the time, and
Yeah. It's always our
if you
problem to
don't,
fix it.
yeah, if you don't know, I think it's important to ask somebody. You can't just ignore that stuff. It's super
Yeah.
critical.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
What's your proudest WordPress moment?
Oh, I think going back and just like thinking about 8 years to the day, like of starting out with that trained eye. I had lost my job at that point in time. I was on unemployment and just like feeling kind of worthless. So it was great to like take some of my time and invest it in that. And where they're at now today is great. Just like I was there 2 days ago talking to a glass artist there who designed my necklace here,
Oh,
and
cool.
I wear it every day. And like looking at where he's come along, he's got just a beautiful spot right on the Beeline Trail, and he didn't know glass blowing very well. This was one of his first necklaces that he built at this location. And now, 2 days ago, when I was there seeing his shop, he's got huge equipment. He's got this and this and this, and he's got all this glass, and he's like selling on Facebook and selling like, so that's possible because of WordPress and the sites that we've built for Artisan Alley. And we've built 5 sites now for Artisan Alley. That there's a made shop, which is things that are made locally by the
Hmm.
artisan. So it's made.artisanalley.com. That's one installation of WordPress. Twisted.artisanalley.com, which is another location in Bloomington on Kirkwood that has alternative art and has a great photography business in there. And she sells plants too, and just like all these little tiny artists things in these different buildings. BurrellIngot.artisanalley.com is the tool library that he has for the community to come and rent tools and things. He's got some really industrial people over there working on some like industrial art things. Dimensions.artisanalley.com is this art gallery, this really nice, finer art gallery where people sell their work. It's just, I think I got all of them. Yeah, so there's like 5 domains, and he's got so much going on, and just being a part of that is my proudest moment.
That's very cool. I like that a lot. It's nice when your proudest moment can be about what you did for somebody else. That's very cool. If you weren't working in web and web technologies and building other people's websites, etc., what's another career that you might like to attempt?
Being a teacher,
Hmm. What would you teach?
technology.
Makes sense. I like that. What's something on your bucket list?
To finish my 4-year degree. Yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list. To go skydiving.
Yeah, I'm never going to jump out of an airplane, so you can have that one all to yourself. I might try a hot air balloon someday, but I'm not going to jump from that either.
Well, I always wanted to do that too, so I Googled Bloomington hot air balloons and found the worst website I could find. And I offered to help them. And it turned into an amazing relationship with Warren Smith. He doesn't fly anymore, he's retired, but I've been able to go out 3 or 4 times because I helped him build his bigredballoons.com and his, and it was great. So that's
Is it as
another.
is it as magical as I expect it would be?
Yeah, it's quite the experience. I felt really like some spiritual moments being up above everything and like looking down. It was so cool. It was like I just wanted to pick things up and like move them around. It felt very Sim City like, you
Yeah,
know.
I love it.
But I totally see like why real estate developers like fly around and stuff to like look at
Mhm.
property and it's so cool. It's so peaceful until all of a sudden you hear and then it stops and then it's peaceful for a little while. But when you do that, the animals are just like, you see the
Oh,
animals move
I
around.
believe. I believe
And
it.
Warren is such a great pilot. We took off from Owen Valley High School and we went across this like little uh, creek or whatever. He set us down in between the trees in the creek, touched the basket in the water and got my feet wet and then took back off.
That's cool.
It was crazy kind of learning about that, learning
Hmm.
about the hot air balloon business while building his site and just like taking all sorts of photos. And I love photography and video stuff. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was just so much fun doing what you love every day, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, show us or tell us about your hidden talent, which you already gave us a preview of a little bit. Um, so let's see it. That looked like a saxophone to me.
All right, I'll play it for you.
Okay, awesome.
And I picked a song 7 years.
Okay.
Can you hear that?
Yep, yep.
All right, that's enough.
That's awesome. I love it. It's like you're the
So I've
Kenny
been
G of
practicing that
WordPress.
a little bit. I just got it fixed.
Oh, it's nice. I love the sound of the
And I
saxophone.
played that in high school. And I made it into the top band, the top classical band my freshman year in high school.
Nice.
And I was just so happy with that. And I love music. And so I just got this kind of like need to get it fixed. I just wanted to play. And I looked around and I found a local guy and it was great. He fixed it. It's in better condition than it was in high school when I used it
Nice.
for marching band.
I
So,
played the French horn, mellophone, and trumpet back then,
oh,
but that
cool.
was it was over 30 years ago, so I don't even know if I'd remember all the fingering now, but yeah.
You wouldn't, but it's like riding a bike, you know, it
Yeah,
just
it'll
comes
come
back
back.
to you. And it's so fun. It's like, it really takes you back to that time. It really
Yeah,
does.
that's very cool. Very,
You
very
should
cool. So
give it a shot.
I don't even have any instruments anymore, but maybe
No rap.
maybe I will. Yeah, I'll try one. See if I can find something on Facebook Marketplace, maybe.
Yeah, totally.
So tell everybody, how do we find you? What's your website, social media, Twitter, all of that kind of stuff?
Um, yeah, well, my website's davidmartindesign.com. If you, the username, tomorrow's my birthday. So my username is my birthday. And I like to have a username that is unique. So I'd like to think I'm the only David 111780. If you just search for that, you'll find probably everything I've ever done, which is kind of scary, but um, yeah,
Well, happy
that's okay.
birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be 39 years young tomorrow.
I just turned 51 last month, so I got a few years on you.
Yeah, happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoy your birthday. Thanks so much for being with us on the show today. Really appreciate getting to introduce you to the WordPress world and the WP Coffee Talk part of it, especially. And it was great meeting you at WordCamp US, and wish you continued great success. And I hope that our paths cross again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle. I'm sure I'll run into you a lot more in the future. And
Sounds good.
it's so nice to be a part of the community, and it was so welcoming this last year.
Yeah.
And I brought my friend Adam with me from Artisan Alley this year, and Jay, my other buddy, came with me too. So I plan on bringing other people, in the future along, because it's a special thing that's going on. So
Yeah.
thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. So we will see everybody next time on WP Coffee Talk. And David, I will see you on Twitter.
All right, sounds great.
Bye, everybody.
WP Coffee Talk with Michelle Frechette is a proud supporter of WP and Up, whose mission is to support and promote positive mental health within the WordPress community. Visit their website at wpandup.org.